The jaundice nobody wanted Doria stood at the edge of the stone platform, her armor shining in the sunlight. The village below was silent. Again, another male had rejected her. It was the 17th time. She didn't cry. She had trained herself not to. Her kind were strong, tall, powerful. She was even taller than most, nearly twice the height of a human man. Her shoulders were wide, her legs strong like steel columns. Her hair was thick and silver, braided tightly behind her. Her eyes were soft gold, but no one ever looked into them long enough to notice. They only saw her size. Too big, too scary, too much. The words echoed in her mind like old ghosts. In her world, strength was valued in battle, but not in love. Males wanted someone soft, small, delicate. Oria was none of those things. When she was younger, she used to dream of love. She carved wooden dolls and dressed them in wedding cloths. She imagined herself holding hands, laughing under the moons, smiling without fear. Now, those dreams were gone, buried beneath armor and silence. The crowd began to move away. The ceremony was over. Another union was made, but not hers. She stepped down from the platform, her heavy boots leaving deep marks in the ground. She passed by to older women who whispered loudly, "Why does she even try? She will never find a match. She should join the miners." Oria said nothing. She just walked on. She walked past the warrior hall, past the edge of the market, and sat near the cliffs. Her favorite quiet place. From here, the wind felt kinder. The stars began to show above, and the twin moons slowly rose. She closed her eyes and whispered to the sky, "Why am I like this? Why did the gods make me wrong?" The sky didn't answer, but someone else did. "I don't think you're wrong," a voice said. Oria opened her eyes, startled. A man stood a few feet away, short, human. His skin was pale, his eyes bright blue, and his brown hair messy under a cap. He looked up at her, not with fear, not with judgment, but with honest curiosity. "I'm sorry," he added quickly. "I didn't mean to interrupt. I was walking and saw you sitting here." Oria blinked. "You are not from here." "No," he said with a smile. "I'm from Earth. Name's Jason." She stared at him. Most humans avoided her people. Their cultures didn't mix often, and no one, not even the males of her own kind, ever stood so calmly near her. "Why are you talking to me?" she asked. "Because you look sad," he replied simply. That answer surprised her. Not because it was wrong, but because it was right. She looked away. "I'm always too much." Jason shrugged. "Too much for who?" She paused. "Everyone." He walked closer, slowly, carefully, and then sat down beside her, legs swinging off the cliff's edge. "You know," he said, "back home, I was always too small, too weak, too quiet, too strange." She turned her head toward him. "Really?" "Yeah," he said. "Then I joined the Earth Peace Corps. Turns out, being quiet helped me listen. Being small helped me move fast. And being strange, well, I found out. Strange just means different, not bad." Oria looked at him again, really looked. He was so small beside her, but he didn't feel weak. He felt solid. Safe. And that scared her more than rejection ever did. "Why did you come to this world?" she asked softly. He looked out at the sky, looking for peace, I guess, and maybe someone who understands what it means to be different. Oria's voice caught in her throat. For the first time, she didn't feel big, she just felt seen. Back in the village, others whispered again, "Is that a human sitting with her? He must be crazy." But Oria didn't hear them, because Jason smiled again and said, "I don't think you're scary at all. I think you look like someone I'd want at my side in a fight." Oria laughed quietly, just once, then whispered, "You'd be the first." Jason looked up at her and said for words she would never forget, "Then let me be." Asterisk the human, who didn't look away. Oria woke the next morning before the suns had risen. The sky was still dark blue, and a cold wind moved through the stone buildings of the village. She stood on her balcony, watching the moons fade. She didn't understand what had happened last night. For the first time in her life, someone had looked at her without disgust or fear. A human. Jason. He was still a mystery to her, a stranger in a strange land. But his words stayed with her. "I think you look like someone I'd want at my side in a fight." Oria had heard many things in her life: insults, warnings, laughter, but never respect. In the village, word spread fast. By sunrise, everyone was talking. The human sat with her. "Maybe he's lost his mind. Maybe it's a trick." Some laughed. Others watched with suspicion, but Jason didn't hide. He walked through the market like nothing was wrong. He talked to traders, greeted children, and even helped a young boy who dropped his food basket. Oria saw him from across the square, and he saw her. He walked over. "Morning," he said casually, holding a cup of hot leaf brew. Oria looked around. People were staring, whispering. "You shouldn't be seen with me," she said quietly. Jason tilted his head. "Why not? They think I'm cursed. Wrong, too large, too dangerous." Jason smiled, then handed her the warm cup. "I think they're blind." Oria held the cup in both hands. His words made her chest feel strange, heavy, but in a good way. They sat near the old well, this time in full view of the market. Jason told her about Earth, about oceans and trees and cities in the sky. He told her about music, books, and the time he tried dancing and fell into a dessert table. Oria laughed, truly laughed. People stared again. But this time, Oria didn't look away. Later, Oria walked Jason through the warrior training ground. "This is where we're judged," she said. "Every female must prove herself in battle." Jason looked at the deep scars in the arena stones. "And you, did you fight?" She nodded. "Every trial. I always won." He raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess. They liked your strength in the arena, but not outside it." "Yes," she said bitterly. "They want us strong when it suits them, but not strong enough to make them feel small." Jason looked thoughtful. Then he said something that made her heart stop. "You're not too much. They're just a week." Later that evening, the village held a feast. Jason was invited as a guest of honor mostly for political reasons. Oria was told to stay in the shadows, but Jason refused. He stood before the crowd and asked, "Why is she not at this table?" Silence. One elder said, "Because she is not suitable." Jason looked around, slowly. Suitable for what? For eating food, for being treated like a person. No one answered. Then he walked through the hall, took Oria by the hand, and led her to the table himself. The hall shook with shock, but no one stopped him. Oria had never been so afraid, not of the crowd, not of rejection, but of what she was feeling. Was this what respect looked like? Was this how it felt to be chosen? She wanted to believe it, but old wounds whispered doubt. Outside, after the feast, Jason and Oria sat under the moons again. He looked up at the stars. "Back home, I never felt like I belonged. Maybe that's why I see you." Oria stared at him. "You don't even know me." He smiled. "Not yet, but I want to." Her heart beat louder than a drum. Then Jason added, "Besides, I don't care how tall you are. I just care who you are." Back in the shadows, jealous eyes watched. Whispers turned to anger, and a challenge was about to be made. But for now, Oria smiled. For the first time in her life, someone hadn't looked away, and that was everything. The trial of claws and Furet sky burned orange as drums echoed through the village. Smoke curled from the torches, and warriors painted in gold and ash stood in lines. Today was the trial, an ancient event meant to test strength, courage, and honor. Oria stood at the edge of the fighting pit, armor strapped to her body, her long hair braided tight. This would be her third trial. She had won the first too easily. But this time, it wasn't just about winning. Jason was in the crowd. And for the first time, she wanted someone to be proud of her, not just impressed. The rules of the trial were simple. Fight 3 challengers. One with speed, one with fire, and one with claws. The last trial was the most dangerous, and it was always done alone. But the elders added something else this time. If she loses, one said loudly, she is to be marked. No more proposals. She will be forever unfit. It was a punishment masked as tradition. Oria knew it. Jason knew it too. But she didn't back down. She stepped into the pit. First challenger. The speed warrior Orthe horn blew. The first challenger rushed forward, a tall male with twin blades and quick feet. He spun, jumped, and sliced toward her knees. Oria blocked, countered, but he was fast. Faster than anyone she had fought. He landed. A cut across her arm. The crowd gasped. Jason's hands gripped the rope railing tighter. Oria breathed deep. She waited, then dropped her shoulder and charged. One hit. That's all it took. The warrior flew back, landed hard, and didn't rise. The crowd roared. But Oria didn't smile. Not yet. Second challenger, the fire dancer. This one carried twin whips made of burning chains. She danced in circles, flames spinning fast, aiming to trap Oria in heat and confusion. Jason leaned forward, eyes wide. Oria moved carefully, not fast, Not slow, just focused. The flames kissed her armor, burned her cape, but she waited. And when the dancer lunged, Oria dropped low, swept her leg, and slammed her into the dirt. To down. One left. Third challenger. The beast-clawed pit doors creaked open, and everyone went silent. From the darkness came a massive, rolling figure. It wasn't a warrior. It was a beast, part lion, part lizard, all muscle and rage. Jason shouted, "That's not fair. That's not a warrior." But no one stopped it. The elders smiled in their seats. Oria's heart raced. But she didn't run. The beast lunged. Oria rolled away, claws toward the dirt where she had stood. She grabbed a spear from the wall, threw it. Missed. The beast charged again. Jason shouted her name, but she didn't stop. She ran at the beast, straight at its jaws, and then she jumped over its head, landed behind it. Grabbed its tail, and with all her strength, she swung it into the stone wall. The ground shook. The beast groaned. Silence. Then cheers. Even the elders stood in shock. Jason, he was on his feet, clapping, laughing, cheering her name. She was declared the victor. The trial was hers. She should have been happy, but something felt off. That night, as the village celebrated, a bitter warrior approached her tent. His name was drawn. He had once rejected her. Now he was jealous. "You embarrass us," he spat, "with your size." With that human, Oria didn't move. He stepped closer. "You think he sees you? You're just a toy to him." Oria raised her eyes slowly, calm. "Control, leave," she said. He did in single quotes. Instead, he swung. But the blow never landed, because Jason had stepped between them. Small, calm, unarmed, but standing firm. She said, "Leave." Jason said, "Dro," growled. "You're not one of us." "No," Jason said, "but I'm with her." The crowd gathered. And watched as Drawn stepped back, sneering. "You'll regret this," he said, then walked away. Oria looked at Jason, her voice quiet. "Why did you stand between us?" He smiled. "Because you've been standing alone long enough." Her chest tightened. Her hands shook. But not from fear, from something deeper, something new. The trial was over, but the real test had just begun, and this time, she wouldn't face it alone. Asterisk, the 18th Proposal. The morning air was cool and quiet, but the village was not. Word had spread like fire. The human and the jaundice were walking together again. Some whispered with confusion, some with anger, and some with fear. Jason didn't care. He walked with Oria like they had done it 1,000 times before. But today, he carried something in his pocket, a small box with a simple ring inside. It wasn't made of gold or jewels, just a band of metal carved by his own hand. They stopped at the edge of the sacred circle, the place where unions were declared. Oria looked around, confused. "This place is for those who are accepted," she said softly. Jason looked at her. "So let's make it that." She froze. "What do you mean?" He knelt. The crowd gasped. He opened the box. "I may not be from this world," Jason said, "but in mine, when you find someone who makes you feel strong, seen, and safe, you don't let them go." Oria's breath caught in her throat. "You were rejected 17 times, Jason continued, "but I see you, and I choose you." Double quote, silence. Heavy. "You and moving. Then shouts, "No, this is madness. It is forbidden." The council elders stormed forward. One of them shouted, "You dare propose to one of our kind, a jaundice?" Jason didn't stand. He looked up at them and said, "She's not just one of your kind. She's the kindest, strongest person I've ever met." Oria reached down, her hands shaking, and lifted him to his feet. She whispered, "Are you sure?" Jason smiled. "I've never been more sure." The high elder stepped between them, voice full of anger. "This cannot be allowed. Our traditions, your traditions are broken." Jason interrupted. "They tell her she's too much. But really, you are too afraid." The elder's face turned red. "Then you are banished. Leave this world before sunset." Jason nodded. Then turned to Oria. "I meant every word. Even if I leave, my heart stays with you." Oria stood tall. "Then I go with you." The council shouted again. "Impossible. She is bound to her people." But Oria raised her voice for the first time in public. "I have been strong in silence. I have fought for this land, and you gave me nothing but shame. Now, I choose love over fear." The people were stunned. Some looked away, but others began to nod. Whispers of doubt had begun in the council's rule. Later, in the quiet of Oria's tent. Jason packed his small bag. "You don't have to leave with me," he said gently. "Your life is here." "My life," she replied, "was waiting for something real. I found it in you." He smiled. "You'll be giving up everything." "No," she said. "I'll be gaining everything." That night, they stood under the twin moons once more. Jason placed the ring on her finger. It barely fit her smallest finger. She laughed quietly. "It's tiny." He grinned, but made with care. She looked at him, eyes glowing, and said, "You're my 18th, the one that said yes." Jason pulled her into a hug, and though she had never felt small, in his arms, she felt just right. But across the village, dark plans were being made. Jealous warriors. Angry elders. One final order: if she leaves with him, end them both. The exile order. The sun rose slowly over the hills, casting golden light across the village. But beneath that peaceful glow, something dark moved. A secret meeting. 6 elders, 3 jealous warriors, and a single cruel plan. "She shames us," one elder whispered. "She defies our laws," hissed another. "She must not leave this land alive." They all nodded. One of the warriors, drawn, stepped forward. "Let me in her, and the human too." "No," said the high elder. "Make it look like an accident. Quiet, clean. We cannot let the other villages know we kill our own." Back at her tent, Oria packed her armor in silence. Jason stood behind her, arms crossed. "You don't need that," he said. "Yes, I do," she replied, "because I know your world might not accept me either." Jason walked over. "Then we'll make a world where we belong." She looked at him, that human, that strange little man who had seen her heart, her scars, her strength, and loved her anyway. They planned to leave at midday, but just after breakfast, a young villager ran to them, breathless, eyes wide. "They're coming," he gasped. "Elders, warriors, with weapons." Jason grabbed his pack. Oria strapped her armor tighter. "No more silence. No more fear." This was war. They fled toward the forest, Oria leading, Jason close behind. But at the edge of the cliffs, 3 figures stepped out from the trees. Drawn stood in the center, holding a curved blade. "Going somewhere?" he sneered. Jason moved in front of Oria, arms out. Drawn laughed. "Move, human. This is not your fight." Jason didn't move. "It is now." Oria stepped forward. "This is between me and him," she said. "Let him go." Drawn's grin vanished. "You think you're strong. Without your tribe, without your blood. I'd have something stronger than that now," Oria said. "What?" She looked at Jason. Double quotes hope. The fight was fast. Drawn lunged. Oria dodged. His blade grazed her arm. Her fist slammed into his chest, sending him flying. Another warrior attacked. Jason threw a stone, hit the man in the face. Oria kicked his legs out from under him. The last warrior ran. They had won, but the sound of horns echoed behind them. More were coming. They ran deeper into the woods. Branches snapped. Leaves flew. They didn't stop until the forest was thick and dark, the trees tall like towers. Finally, breathless, they paused at a small clearing. Jason collapsed to his knees. We made it." Oria knelt beside him. Her side was bleeding, her breath heavy, but her eyes were clear. She smiled. "You were brave." Jason grinned. "I had a good reason to be." That night, they built a fire under the stars. Jason sat beside Oria, wrapping her wound gently. She flinched, but only slightly. "Why are they so afraid of us?" he asked. Oria looked into the flames. "Because love like ours breaks the rules they built to stay in control." Jason nodded slowly. "Then we'll make our own rules." She leaned against him. "Where will we go?" He pulled out a small map. "There's a free zone beyond the ice mountains. They don't care who you are, just what you can do." Oria raised an eyebrow. "And what can I do?" Jason smiled. "You can change the world." But far behind them, in the halls of the elders, a darker force stirred. One elder stepped into a chamber of stone, lit by blue flame. A voice from the shadows said, "If she escapes, our rule ends. Send the shadows. Kill them both. No more mercy." And so it began. Not just a journey of escape, but a battle for freedom. A love story against a world that never wanted them to win. Asterisk, the shadow hunter's forest grew colder. Each step deeper into the trees brought more silence. Even the birds had stopped singing. Jason and Oria moved quietly, their senses sharp. They had left behind the angry warriors. But something darker was now following them. Oria could feel it. In her bones. In the way the air felt to still. "They're hunting us," she said softly. Jason looked around. "Who?" Oria didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "The shadows." Jason frowned. "What are they?" She looked at him. "Not men, not beasts. They were created long ago to protect the Elder's power. But they serve only fear. They found a cave to rest. Jason made a small fire. Oria sat at the entrance, watching. She hadn't slept in 2 days. Her body ached. But she wouldn't let him suffer alone. Inside the cave, Jason looked at her and said, "You need rest." "I will when you're safe." He shook his head. "I'm only safe when we're together." That night, Jason dreamed out of a black fog, a whispering voice, and Oria, standing alone in the dark. He woke up covered in sweat. The fire was out, and Oria was gone. He ran out of the cave, heart pounding. "Oria." He called into the night. Then he saw them dark figures moving through the trees. Their skin was like smoke, eyes glowing like cold stars. They didn't walk. They floated. One of them had Oria in its grip, arms bound by blue light. Jason didn't. Think. He charged. The shadow turned. Its voice was like metal scraping stone. "You are weak," it said. Jason didn't answer. He grabbed a burning branch from the ground and threw it. The fire struck the shadow's face. It shrieked and dropped Oria. Jason ran to her, but another shadow flew toward him. Before it could strike, Oria rolled to her feet, swung her blade, and cut through it. The shadow turned to dust. They ran together deeper into the trees, but more shadows followed. "Too many," Jason gasped. "We can't outrun them." Oria turned and shouted. "Then we make a stand." She dragged a huge fallen tree into the path. Jason used a sharp stone to create fire again. Together, they set a trap. When the shadows came, they fought side by side. Jason threw fire. Oria swung steel. One by one, the shadows fell. But they kept coming. Oria was bleeding again. Jason's arm was burned. Still, they stood. Still, they fought until a loud howl echoed across the forest, and a glowing figure stepped out of the trees. It was a hunter, a rebel warrior from the north, covered in glowing paint, eyes shining with blue fire. He held a long spear and faced the shadows. "You're not welcome here," he said. The shadows stopped, then slowly vanished into the fog. Jason and Oria collapsed in the leaves. The hunter looked at them. "You must be the ones the elders want dead." Jason nodded. "I guess that makes us famous." Oria asked, "Why did you help us?" The hunter smiled. "Because love this strong is rare, and it's worth fighting for." They followed the hunter to a hidden village in the mountains, a place where outcasts, rebels, and free spirits lived, a new world. Built by the broken, held up by the brave. Oria looked around and saw people like her, all different, strong. Jason saw kindness in the eyes of strangers. For the first time, they felt safe. But peace would not last long, because across the border, the High Elder had sent the final command. If they reach the new world, they will unite it, in them now, at any cost. The world she desert vet hidden mountain village was unlike any place Jason had ever seen. People of every shape and size, humans, job folk, and others lived together. They built homes from stone and glass, powered by the sun and wind. There were no kings, no elders, no punishments for being different, only peace. But peace wasn't what followed them. Not yet. Because behind them, the enemy still marched. And the final battle was coming. Oria stood on the cliff edge, watching the clouds below. Jason walked up beside her. "They're coming," he said quietly. She nodded. "I know. They'll try to destroy everything we found here." She turned to him. "Then we protect it." They prepared. The mountain people gathered. Builders, farmers, hunters, old warriors. Jason taught them how to make fire traps. Oria trained the strong ones to fight without fear. The hunter who had saved them became their scout. Every heart beat with one purpose: freedom, not just for Oria, but for all. At sunrise, the sky turned red. The army of the High Elder climbed the pass, armed with machines, flames, and hate. The people of the mountain stood at the gate. Jason held Oria's hand. She looked taller than ever, not because of her size, but because she finally believed she was worthy. The battle began. Fire flew, stone broke, shouts echoed across the cliffs. Jason was everywhere, dragging wounded to safety, throwing spears, guiding fighters. Oria stood like a shield, blocking attacks, lifting fallen warriors, knocking enemies off the edge. The High Elder himself arrived, on a flying platform, shouting, "Stand down, traitor." Oria turned to face him. Her voice rang like thunder. No. The elder raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Jason leapt out. He tackled the elder, crashing the platform into the rocks. The elder fell, screaming. Jason barely held on. Oria reached down and pulled him up. He gasped. I thought you might leave me hanging. She smiled, breathless. Never. The enemy saw their leader fall and fear took them. They dropped weapons, ran. The battle was over. Later, as the sun set, the village celebrated. A new fire was lit in the center. People danced. Music played. Children laughed. Oria sat beside Jason, her arm in a sling. He held her other hand gently. You saved them, he said. She shook her head. We saved each other. He took out something small, a new ring, made from the iron of her old armor. He slipped it on her finger again. This time, it fit. Oria stood up, looked around, and saw something she never thought possible. A place where she belonged, where size wasn't shame. Where love wasn't weakness. Where a giant woman and a small human could build a future together. She turned to the people and said loudly, this is our home now. Not because we were allowed here, but because we chose it. Cheers rose. Into the sky. Jason whispered, so what do we call this place? Oria smiled wide. The world she deserved.